Hey there, episode 167. Today we have Adam Ulery of Dreamstone Investments to talk about multifamily investing. And if you're a tech guy interested in investing in real estate this upcoming year, if that's you, this episode is for you. All that and more coming up.
Welcome to the Wealth Through Real Estate Investing Podcast, your source for real-world strategies focused on creating long-term wealth, cash flow, and financial freedom through real estate. Through guidance, tips, and stories of highly successful real estate investors and thought leaders, we provide you the tools to succeed and to reach the lifestyle you always wanted. And now, your host, Dwaine Clarke.
Hello and welcome to the Wealth Through Real Estate Investing Show. This is your host, Dwaine Clarke, and today we have Adam Ulery. Adam is with Dreamstone Investments, head of investor relations. He's also the host of Tech Guys Who Invest podcast, which is an educational show dedicated to increasing the financial education of everyday people. His company, Dreamstone Investments, is a privately held apartment and commercial real estate company. Adam, thank you so much for joining us on the show, and how you doing, my friend?
Hey, great, Dwaine. Thanks so much for having me on. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, really looking forward to it. We're just kind of talking pre-show about you living in a nice, warm area of North Florida and my aspirations of moving there pretty soon. So, but yeah, we talked and kind of talked a little bit about your background. And for people who are not familiar with you, would you mind talk about how you got started in real estate and a little bit about your company?
Yeah, that's great. I'd love to. Sometimes I kind of describe myself, Dwaine, as a man breaking out of an average life into an extraordinary one. I'm like probably a lot of people who listen to your show, just a white collar worker, in the corporate world. And one day I was talking to a colleague about how I just wanted more. And, I wasn't even sure what that looked like. I just knew I wanted to do more. And she asked me if I'd read this little book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I said, no, I've heard of it, but I've never read it. So went to the library, got that book. That's where my real estate journey began, right there. That was about 4 years ago. And read that book. It blew my mind and changed my life. And, maybe because I was a little further along in my career than some people, who get started in real estate early in their 20s or 30s. It just kind of opened up this way of thinking that I had no idea existed. And from there, I just dove into learning as much as I could about what it meant to invest in assets. I quickly gravitated towards real estate for multiple reasons, and I haven't looked back. I mean, I scaled from one rental house to the apartments that we buy today.
It's so amazing with just all of the mindset. Every time I talk to guests and they mention Rich Dad, Poor Dad, how it kind of just transformed their life, but it's outside of because it doesn't talk about anything technical in the book. You utilize real estate as your tool and, multifamily as one of those asset classes, but it was really just a change of the mindset to say, you know what, I'm working and I want to get financial freedom. I want to build wealth and legacy, and I'm going to use real estate to do it. And it just kind of like, I would say kind of like the financial Bible in many ways that just kind of gets people thinking in the right direction. So it's really cool kind of hearing many of the guest experts that we have on the show that keeps saying this book. So for people who are not convinced yet, definitely pick up that book and check it out, especially as we head towards the new year. Can you talk about the investments that you're involved in now? You mentioned multifamily. So your company, Dreamstone, what type of unit class, locations, and then also talk about kind of the markets that you are invested in and what you like about them?
Yeah, absolutely. We're focused primarily in the southeast part of the U.S. Me and my partner, Nick, are both based in the Tampa Bay, Florida area. Our other partner, Viano, is based in Atlanta. And we invest in those markets as well as some other markets in the southeast. We just recently closed a deal in Nashville. And right now we're looking at some deals in other areas like Alabama and the Carolinas even. So we really like the Southeast because the demographic shift that's occurring from people in highly dense areas in the Northeast to the South. Also people like yourself who are tired of the cold and they're ready to come live in this warm area. We're just seeing a lot of movement there. And Dwaine, that's one of the reasons why we like that section of the country. As far as the apartments, we look for usually Class B, and we're looking for some type of a value add opportunity. And then we really like to buy from mom and pop owners. So a little bit about that. First of all, we previously were looking at Class C and B, and we like to pivot and really keep an eye on what the market's demanding, the market in terms of what renters will be demanding. And we just see this shift to Class B, especially as we started to see some of the effects of the pandemic, and our Class C properties weren't operating as well as our Class Bs. We believe some sort of a correction or downturn is coming, and Class Bs, we believe, will perform better in that environment. So that's kind of why we made that shift from C to more of a B focus, which is what we have now and into the next few years. And then from a value add perspective, we're really just looking at something that we can get into and add value, whether it's through efficiencies in the business operations, the management of the property itself, or physically improving the property. You know, we do like stabilized properties. We don't like to come in and do heavy rehabs, but we certainly like to make updates, bring things more modern, add value that way. So then we can bring more of the premium market rents to bear there.
Yeah, I like that. I definitely, you touched on kind of the shift, as you know, everyone didn't really expect a pandemic to kind of flow through the earth and it's affect everything. But, you know, kind of savvy investors like your group has just kind of started, you know, looking at, you know, the comparison to B and C and say, you know, here's something that's going to be more stabilized as we move into the future. And of course, we're still going to be feeling the effects of the market cycling in the next couple of years and things like that. So it's always good to kind of start making your moves and just really just, you know, changing your overall strategy, which is very key. So I like that a lot. Can you talk about your latest acquisition you mentioned in Nashville? You know, how many units? I know a lot of investors I talk to like the Nashville market. And then also talk about kind of your business plan for it, and to kind of give people an example of what you guys are working on.
Yeah, I'd love to. And that kind of fits into what we were just talking about there with kind of pivoting your business based on the market or the business climate. The Nashville deal is actually a newer trend in investing called build to rent. So we partnered with a builder who was building that thing from the dirt up. And we bought it from them right at the point where a certificate of occupancy was issued. So we took control when the building was brand new, but we're not then selling the units individually like a builder would. So they call it build to rent because we're essentially building a brand new community, and then we're hanging on to it and renting it just like you would an apartment community. So that was 19 units in Nashville. All 19 units are brand new townhouse style units. Really nice for young families who may, especially with the COVID thing going on, you know, they may not want to live in an apartment, especially a nice high rise in the city where they have to pass people in hallways and use elevators or things like that. They may want to get into something that feels more like a home, but maybe they don't want the yard work, or maybe also they want something that feels new and they don't want an older rental home. This is the kind of unit that appeals to them. It's perfect for people like millennials who are now, you know, starting to raise families, but they may still have student debt. They're not quite ready to buy, but they still want something that feels like a new home to them that they can be proud to raise their family in. So we just saw all of that as really attractive. And to be able to buy something at competitive prices with very low maintenance costs the first few years, because we've got a builder warranty, it's brand new construction. So just all of those things factor into making it attractive from our end. And then we syndicated the deal like you would an apartment deal and are just hanging on to it. Now, in 5 to 7 years, when we'll either exit the deal or, you know, cash out the investors, it'll it'll be just like another syndicated apartment deal, although we do have some additional exit options available to us if we need them for some reason. You know, we could sell those units individually. We could look at some creative ways to sell them. And so that BTR model is pretty neat to us.
I like that a lot because, like I said, you're thinking about multiple exit strategies that make, of course, the investors feel more comfortable, more happy that, you know, you have that plan. And also, like I said, just the pivot, the whole pivot topic of just like having multiple exit strategies and thinking about it in different ways, because of course we're not going to know where the market is in the next couple months, couple years, and things like that. So it's always good to know things like that. And I had mentioned also before that you have a tech background, and it's interesting that a lot of the people that I interview on the show are also in the tech field as well. So I'm like thinking like multifamily investing, real estate investing, tech. What's the connection there? Can you tell us what's the draw there? Why tech guys are interested in real estate, and, you know, the things that you're noticing as a tech guy?
Yeah, it's a great question to ponder. And I think there could be multiple reasons for it. For the engineers out there, I think they just really love the analysis piece of it, the numbers part of it. Now, what's funny about me as a person who works in tech and a person who is into, you know, investing and kind of the financial industry in that way, you might think I would be this analytical engineer brain type, but I'm really not. Although I work in the software development industry, I'm a coach who helps teams with their team dynamics, processes, how to work effectively as a team. And so I'm more on the people side of things, and my personal reasons for being in it could be different from a lot of those tech guys who you and I see. I think that's why they like it, or the numbers piece of it. You know, they could really get in there and see those numbers, and they've got a lot of control over that. And then in addition to that, I think some of the way I think about it also plays in for them, which is I want more freedom. You know, I don't want to be at the mercy of a company who can make decisions that I can in no way control. And the COVID situation was a perfect real example of that for us. You know, the company I work for is fantastic, and they tried their best not to lay people off, but they did have to furlough some people. And then there are plenty of other companies out there, huge companies that all of us know, who did have to lay off, and they had no choice. I mean, they couldn't survive if they didn't. So it's so outside of your control. But if you're a real estate investor and, you know, you're investing in assets that produce cash flow, you've got a lot more control. There are more things you do. And yeah, it affects our industry as well, because we've got people who are having trouble paying rent and things like that. But you have the ability to come up with some creative solutions about how to work through that. And you've just got more control over that there. So I think the tech guys like that part too.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely key there. And like I said, it goes the same. Everything kind of changes, but I like that you talk about it's, you know, yeah, even though you love your job, and some people want to either just leave the job, but you as a software engineer probably just love what you do, but having cash flow and building wealth, building a legacy, you know, building multiple streams of income is definitely key. You also have a podcast as well that you talk to tech guys. Can you talk to us about what do you talk about on the show, and you know, why people should listen to it?
Yeah, absolutely. So my co-host Kevin and I are both guys who work in the tech industry, and we both invest in real estate. And so we are tech guys who invest, and we love having all different kinds of people on the show to talk about investing in real estate, to educate them on what it takes to get out of the rat race and to start building wealth and to start thinking about wealth building like the rich people do. So whether you want to leave your job or not, it doesn't matter. We like to help people think about money the same way the wealthy do, because then you can build wealth, you can build generational wealth, and it will increase your level of freedom. So we talk about that a lot on the show. We find ourselves digging into mindset quite a bit on the show. So we have some pretty successful people on the show, just like you do, Dwaine. I've noticed we've had a lot of the same guests on, and we just love to ask them, tell someone who maybe where you were 30 years ago, or tell someone who has never had exposure to a wealthy person in their life. And how do you think about these things? What are some habits you have, or what are some ways you think about things that may be different than the way middle-class people do? It's just fascinating to hear them talk about that stuff.
Oh yeah, exactly. I love, like I said, that's the biggest conversation. I actually get more out of that than the technical stuff, because you can easily teach somebody about the technical stuff, but like the mindset and the habits and the things that, wealthy people are doing, if you're able to adopt those habits and routines and implement those into your, not only your business, but your day-to-day life, everything can just transform from there. And that's definitely became, especially for me, having multiple mentors, real life mentors to mentors through books and tapes and audio stuff where I can just learn and educate myself, or even through podcasts alone is really a huge game changer for me as well. And to talk about the mindset, talk about productivity, let me ask you a couple questions there. Is like, what's a typical work day for you, and do you have any special morning routines?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think morning routines are very important to help you be the most you can, to reach your potential and to continue to grow. There's just something about them that they kind of get your day started right, and help you go into the day with this fresh, kind of motivated mindset. And so I personally use a savers routine, which Hal Elrod invented.
Morning
you guys
Miracle.
may be familiar with that. Miracle Morning.
I actually just finished watching his movie. He has a movie on
Nice.
on Netflix, Netflix or Amazon. I think it's Amazon. So if you can, we just rented it over the weekend. It's great movie.
Awesome. I love his routine. I do that almost every morning. And I just do, maybe 10 minutes per savers item or so. And man, that's just enough to start my day off really well. Also, I'm a big goal setting guy. I really believe in goals and the power of setting goals. So I like to set short, medium, and long-term goals. And I do that pretty regularly. I'm also a big believer in alignment across your team. So I think it's important not only to share your goals with those who are on your team, to make sure that you're all aligned as team members, so that you're all pushing in the same direction, and you guys are able as a team to operate in a way that's more powerful than you might individually, since you share those goals and you can align your personal goals to the team goals.
Absolutely. I love that a lot. And as far as any things with your team that you use for your business or your software business, as far as kind of tools and resources that you use to make yourself more productive through the day?
Yeah, well, there's a framework called OKRs that I use for my business consulting. Objectives and key results is what it stands for. And Kevin and I use that on the podcast, and I use it with all of my clients who I work with in the tech field. And then with Dreamstone, we use a similar goal setting framework where we set our goals and make sure that we're all aligned to them, and then we check in with them regularly. So I highly recommend anybody who is interested, check out OKRs. It's a really good goal setting framework that I think is super important.
Is that like an app, or you can go to the website, sign up or something like that?
If you Google OKR, you'll find tons of stuff on it. There's a guy named John Doerr who came from Intel and went to Google to mentor the guys who started Google, and he brought OKRs to Google. And then he took it to all of the other giant Silicon Valley startups that you would know of, like LinkedIn and just every one of them you can think of. They all use OKRs now. So yeah, if you Google OKR, you'll find tons of stuff on it.
Awesome. We'll make sure to have that in the resources link as well for people to check that out. And then finally, always got to ask this question, is a question of gratitude. What can you say that you're most grateful for?
Oh, wow. I, what am I most great? The most part is the reason it's so tough here for me, because I am grateful for my family and my friends, and living in this country, which I believe we are in a great country that allows people to follow their ambitions. I guess if I had to say the thing I'm most grateful for, it would come down to my freedom. I'm most grateful for my freedom. And I think that's one of the reasons why real estate investing is so important to me, is because I believe it increases my freedom. It sets me free.
I love that a lot. I really appreciate you sharing that. Adam, Ulery, Dreamstone Investments. Also, I forgot to ask you this is, how do we get in contact with you? Also, we'll make sure to have all the links in the show notes. Can you tell us how to get in contact with you?
Yeah, thanks a lot, Dwaine. Really appreciate you having me on. tgwipodcast.com. That's the URL for the tech guys who invest. And you can email me, adam@dreamstoneinvest.com. You can also check me out on dreamstoneinvest.com. And you can find me on LinkedIn. And if you do find me on LinkedIn, tell me you heard me on this podcast, because I like to know where people find me. And that's just kind of helpful.
Awesome. All right, Anna, I really appreciate you taking the time, especially right after the holiday season as we head into 2021. And all the best to you and the family. Continued success to you and your company. And look forward to having you again on soon. Take care, my friend.
Thanks so much, Dwaine.
All right, take care.